I had a newsroom where there was only one desktop, and people would have to queue up to use Google or email.
Yeah. The brief was, improving our media presence essentially using content. There are many ways to do PR. Typically, what companies do is they have a product to announce, or they have new features to announce. They have hiring plans or expansion plans. There are mergers or acquisitions, or there's a funding round or some kind of liquidation round. Something happens within the company, and the company wants it covered in the media. Typically, that's the kind of interaction happens between the company and the media. What I was primarily responsible when I started off for was something that we called content PR internally, and my job was to generate insights, generate thought leadership using authored articles, data analysis, blog pieces, commenting on ongoing events, basically writing some trends. So that was the job. Do a lot of really good content that the media would be interested in and help us get covered. So there was brand coverage, obviously, on the site, talking about what funding is coming in or what products we are launching and all of that. But on the side, my job was to ensure that we are getting coverage over and above that in all matters of consumer finance. So our goal was to help people make better financial decisions. So everything we did from that point was to help people make better financial decisions, and we did that through content. So content PR became a thing, and gradually, as my role grew, I became responsible for all sorts of other things, including social media, corporate communications, brand communications, all of that. It's been about 9 years. Next month, I'll complete 9 years here. So that is the journey from crunching numbers in cricket to crunching numbers in consumer finance.
So if we can take a step back, and then you said that there are various mandates that you were trying to execute. Now, what goes into the thought process in the C-suite, and before then it comes to the Copcom team, marketing team? How do you synergize all these things? How is the decision-making process happens, to which PR may not be aware of, but should assume that this must have gone into it?
Sure. I mean, over time, I've realized that this was probably the hardest question to answer in what I'm doing. Right, because this is the headline question. Why am I here? Why am I in this job? What am I supposed to do? And it's easy when you're starting out because there's somebody who's going to come in and say, "Ki tera kaam ye hai, aaj se ye kar." But when you start reporting to management, you start reporting to the CEO, then you have to advise them, right? You have to tell them, okay, this is what we have done last year, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, and from next year, we're going to do this. This is what our plan is. And you have a lot of responsibility, and you have to be very responsible in terms of developing what that plan needs to be. Because money is going to be spent, people's careers are on the line, the business is on the line, and you have to deliver, right? You have to do your part in ensuring that things get done. So one of the best responses to that question that I have kind of come across through speaking to other people, including people like you, and people that have trained me in the past, is what is the company trying to achieve? Right. What are its headline objectives? It could be, launching a certain kind of product, or it could be raising certain amount of money, or it could be, saying, okay, we want to be the number one brand for millennials looking for credit cards, for example. So it could be anything, and your priorities stem from that, right? So let's say we want to sell credit cards to people between the ages of 25 and 45 who are salaried, who have a good credit score. Now, those are my customers. Now, I want to ensure as a PR person that those people like me. Those people know about me and they like me, right? So I have to be visible in front of them. I have to speak a language that they understand, and I have to give them a reason to like me. Primarily those three things. I'm trying to influence what they think about me. I want to influence how they behave once they know about me, right? So the ultimate objective is to drive that consumer to what the company is trying to do.
Right.
And it all distills from there towards something that I need to do at an operational level in PR.
So when it comes to communication, you're trying to have a conversation with your target audience. But when a PR is trying to coordinate with a Copcom side, right? What is the best way to communicate ideas with the Copcom? Because sometimes the PR may have a brief in his head and may skip mentioning it in the email, or because the Copcoms are dealing with so many other things, they would forget about what the brief was about. And suddenly one idea pops up. So what are some key essential traits or to-do things or must-do things that PRs can inculcate to have better client relationship?
Sure. So there's no one fixed path to this. There's so many different paths, and everybody can develop their own part to this, right? But it all comes down to what the company is trying to achieve. The Copcom head that you might be trying to work with is trying to guide the PR operations towards the objectives of the company. Ultimately, company ko product based, they have to earn profits, they have to raise capital. Ultimately, those are the objectives. So the PR head has aligned himself to those objectives, and now you have to align yourself to what the PR head is trying to do. Right. See, clients will come and go, right? I mean, you will engage with them at a tactical level, or you have a strategic relationship with them. But the best outcome for you guys would be, having very high trust relationships, not just with the corporates, but also with the media, right? Because you are kind of bridging that gap. High trust is where the most value is created, and it does not happen overnight. So, what are the things that contribute to high trust? You have to do those things. If I have to talk about my own journey, and I do have some small number of high trust relationships with the media, right? They depend on me for insights on what is going on in my part of the world, in consumer finance, in lending. So they reach out to me when they have questions and they want answers, and I tell them what I know. And once they understand that you have some kind of domain authority, some kind of expertise in your field, they'll start trusting you. And if you're able to demonstrate that value over a period of time, obviously that relationship turns from, a tactical relationship where you're saying, okay, please mera PR release chapo, to that level where they'll reach out to you for everything. They depend on you. I mean, you are a highly strategic asset for them now. You're a high trust. You have that high trust relationship with them, right? So that's my experience. I mean, go from tactical to very high trust.
What do PR heads do when they are not engaging with the agency?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
So, just one disclaimer, I don't have an agency right now. What do we do? I mean, look, everybody does different things. I just mentioned that I have a thing for cricket. So, whenever I have to take my mind off work, I just tune into what is going on in that side. I do read a lot. I listen to podcasts, I listen to music, I read books. I read obsessively. I mean, I'll read pretty much anything from, a book to a shit post. I just keep reading constantly through the day. It's important to read the right things. I mean, please don't read shit posts. I mean, there's complete brain rot going on right now.
Yeah, one thing that we keep on discussing is dealing with tough clients. If there are differences, how do you resolve them? Saying sure, we'll do that, we'll get back, we'll mail about it. That's the standard response. How can you worked with agencies before? You worked with journalists, you worked with copcoms, you work with the industry leaders as your clients who you report into or you have to manage relationships with. What are these? If you can share some nuggets of wisdom with us, which can help ease this very sensitive relationship between an exec client, agency executive, and a client leader.
I mean, people can be difficult from time to time. I understand that, but you have to find a way to build that relationship with them, right? I mean, I'm not an expert on building great relationships. I have a limited number of relationships, thankfully. I mean, I just try and manage them, right? I mean, my boss, my family, my friends, that's it. You guys have a much tougher job because you're juggling multiple clients, and you also have to juggle your priorities in this job. And everybody is going to be different, right? But you have to be true to yourself. I mean, you have to uh, offer what's best about you, right? It could be a great copy, it could be great analysis, it could be great insights, or it could be great people management. You have to lead with what you are good at, and everything else will follow. Everybody has their own journeys through this, right? I mean, nobody starts being perfect at everything. You're good at something, but everything else you have to learn. That's what I did. That's what I guess you guys will have to do as well.
Right. And this comes with a lot of stakeholders because you're dealing with money, people's money. So, how does basically, I want to know if you are okay to share any anecdote where you may have done something which is not wasn't appreciated or taken well by your seniors. How did you deal with that situation?
Yeah, money is a very sensitive issue, especially now. I mean, where everybody's trying to cut costs, save costs, spend at a minimum. It's a difficult time. See, expectations need to be clearly set, right? Not just from you to you towards your bosses, but also from your bosses towards you. So what I try to do at the start of a year is get a clear understanding of what my budgets are going to be, and then I try to respect those limits. I try and stay within my line, and I plan things in a way that I don't go overboard, I don't have to overspend, and I also don't have to go seeking, approvals for every little thing. So you've given me a broad mandate, and I'm going to follow that. But I'm not going to come to you for every 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. Ye approve karo, wo approve karo. That is not going to work, and it works out typically well as long as expectations are clearly set, and you're not spending money on stuff that will not add value, right? You have to think very carefully about where your rupees are going today, because this is an exceptionally hard time. I mean, I cannot emphasize that enough.
And when did you feel comfortable that okay, now I know?
No, I still don't feel comfortable. It's never enough, because there's always going to be somebody who knows more than you, right? So my transition was, look, I mean, I spent most of my time tracking sports and covering cricket, but there were some skills that were clearly transferable from here to there. I just backed those skills. I said, this is what I understand. I understand writing, I understand media, I understand what the editor is thinking, I understand numbers to a basic extent. I absolutely do not understand consumer finance because that's not my background, never has been. So, see, this is what, I mean, if you're trying to get hired, this is what people look for. I mean, are you adaptable? Because nobody comes into any line of work knowing everything about that line of work. It doesn't work that way, obviously. You just have to demonstrate that adaptability, that you started off with a set of skills and now you're using those skills to develop new branches of knowledge, develop new skills. I think that's what helped me, and I see among my peers as well. This is how they're able to switch from one thing to the other. And as you grow older, responsibilities increase, experiences happen, and you also have to keep up with what's happening in the world. And if you're just tracking everything, then you know what is expected of you, right? Even your narrow domain. If you're talking just about media, I mean, you just have to know what is happening in a particular domain, and that's good enough, right? Most days that's good enough. Good.
So one of the most common suggestions if we ask someone that what should we do to improve our knowledge, servicing, idea, strategy, all those things. First thing is read more.
Yeah, 100%.
But now my question is it has to be more refined. When you're reading, what are the cues that you're looking for?
So my reading habits are actually all over the place. I'll read anything. I'll watch any kind of movie. I'll listen to any kind of music. I've not tied myself to any particular thing that I like. I mean, I'll consume anything. But that's me. I mean, not everybody is going to be like that. And you have to start somewhere. So, for example, I started with sports. I mean, I read a lot of sports. I used to grow slightly older. Then you realize that, sports is at one level. How do I understand society better? How does society function? How does politics happen? So you start reading into those. So everything is interlinked. And what I find is that, everything is financial. Everything is politics. Money is tied to everything.
Correct.
Politics is tied to everything. You just have to understand how. And you ask the questions and you try and find the answers through, whatever the best mean is.
And with AI coming in, and if you have to crystal ball gaze into figuring out what are the next few things that people should be aware of, especially the young generation, because they have to spend the next 30, 40 years. What are the things that they should be focusing on developing as key traits, be it growth mindset, be it some kind of technical knowledge? What would be those things be? Because AI would keep on solving greater challenges at a faster pace.
Yeah.
And although it might not eat up jobs, but it will make jobs easier for those who really know how to leverage it.
100%. So, I mean, this is still a very fluid kind of situation, and we don't know where things are headed, right? I mean, disruption is happening at a really rapid pace. Everything is getting disrupted. Things we thought that this would not get disrupted, that is getting also disrupted. So we don't know what is the end game here. And, us personally, I mean, we've existed in the age of Google, right? I mean, we started our careers about 20 years back. Google was everything.
I had a newsroom where there was only one desktop, and people would have to queue up to use Google or email. I'm not that old, by the way.
So that was a different time. I mean, about 20 years back, with search marketing becoming a thing, email marketing becoming a thing, career options opened up, and Google had this hegemony, this kind of monopolistic position in the world, and suddenly 4 years back, that monopoly ended. So a lot of careers tied to that also ended. I don't think they are sustainable anymore, and they will get wiped out. In low quality content, obviously, it's gone, completely gone, because GPT is able to generate that much more easily. So it's a question of what is original. I mean, what can you do that AI is not doing? From a consumer point of view, consumer finance point of view, everybody needs insights. So I can talk about my own domain. I mean, you can apply it to whichever domain you are in. Insights on how to manage money will be required, and AI cannot generate that. AI can generate generic advice on how to save or how to invest, what kind of insurance to buy. It will tell you the basic steps, but it will not be able to contextualize all of that information in terms of who you are. I mean, you could be a 20-something person living in Bangalore. You're earning X amount of money, and following your life problems, right? It will not be able to immediately contextualize all of that for you. So the solution there is, the opportunity there is that there is still space for original thinking, original content, original art, anything that is unique to you, any story that you can tell uniquely, any experience that you've had that is absolutely unique to you. That is your story, and only you can tell that, not any AI. AI is ultimately formulaic, right? It will generate, you put in garbage, it will generate
garbage. Gold in, gold out, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So another thing that, sorry, this is going to be my last question. After that, it's up to you. How open are brands nowadays to experiment with AI and new ideas? Like usually what I have seen is you come up with a campaign idea and the first question is, who else has done something like this? What was the result then? Is there a proof that it has worked before? So do Indian brands have that courage or the audacity to experiment with something?
So if you're talking about operations, then obviously yes, everybody is already using it. In fact, you guys are competing with AI now. So if somebody has to, let's say a startup has to write a press release, it will. They can do it using an AI. They'll not come to an agency for something as minor as that, right? They might come to you for strategic thinking and guidance, but the operational stuff is already gone. So at an operational level, AI is already there. In terms of experimentation, we have no idea how far this thing is going to go because, as content and media professionals, we are saying that generative AI is playing a role in our domain. But there are so many other domains that I don't have visibility into. And once in a while, I'll find out, okay, यहाँ पे भी ये है. So, for example, we have a video team, video editors, and they have found their own tools to work with that I don't work with because that's not what I do on a day-to-day basis. Right? We have a calling center, and the calling center is employing their own AI tools that I don't know about. So disruptions are happening in different pockets, in different sectors, and people are adopting AI at different levels. So that appetite is already there. They are taking that risk. In terms of if your question was about marketing, advertising, we have not done that so far. But there are elements to our marketing, our SEO efforts that are already enabled through AI.
Yes, we have a question from Abhinav.
Establishing authority, but especially we're not really going out and meeting as many people. We don't really have media around like we used to, right? And on platforms like LinkedIn, also, it's more or less a generic type of writing that gets pushed. So, one, how do you get your in platforms like LinkedIn or whenever you're writing for yourself? Because you have to write a certain way for people to be able to read, right? And two, because you're not interacting with other people as you would before. So people who aren't in the domain, how do you now enter it? Does it not become more like a closed circle?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I have not thought about it that way because most of the relationships that I have are kind of old. And, those, like you rightly said, we don't have face to face interactions. We just know each other. Some of them I have never even met face to face. It's always over chat or over a phone call. What worked there was clearly that we were able to supply them the insights that they were looking for, and we were very consistent. That's one thing actually that I want to emphasize on. We are very good with turnaround. So journalists will come to us directly and say, they'll ask the whatever question they have and say, "Ki answer this, and this is my deadline. This is the format that I require," and we always deliver within their deadline in whatever parameter, whatever format they want. So that was one way that they have come to trust us. We are very good with the responses, and we have something to say on pretty much everything in consumer finance. And it's been a very hectic space in the last few years. So that is what worked for us. That we respond to everything on time, and you can depend on us for this information. And even if we can't answer as a company, we'll still guide you or try to guide you towards what the answer might be. So it's not always about what's going to benefit me as a company now. It's also about what is going to help me strengthen that relationship with them.
Isn't that a factor that's diminishing as well? Before you needed to Google, you would get search term.
Yes.
Now with ChatGPT, I can just ask it as
Yes.
question. It's giving me a very elaborate response, right? So I don't even need to go ask you where to go for a blog. I can just ask it.
Correct.
So doesn't that niche go away completely?
So
People who want to enter now.
So speaking for my domain, a lot of what we do is still very technical. Yes, generic questions will be answered through search or AI, but the technical stuff, some of the more regulatory stuff, it will not be able to answer. A lot of the websites are, we are assuming that all the websites are crawlable by search and AI. They're not. So a lot of websites are shutting off AI, and AI will not have that knowledge or information. So then I get to become the expert on that particular information. As long as that is true, I'll remain relevant. People will come to me. I don't know how it is in other domains. I mean, with finance, you have so much regulation. You have four different regulators. Everybody has their own priorities. Everybody has their own challenges. So many complexities, and AI is not able to answer a lot of those questions. And good journalists will always ask very deep questions uh, that are specific to problems going on today. And somebody starting out might have more generic or more basic questions that can be easily answered, obviously. But if you're trying to get into a good story done by a senior journalist, then that nuance has to come from a person.